This chapter was about possibility. The start of this chapter is about limits. It's about not giving in too easily to how limited you feel. It's saying that you have an incredible potential and you don't believe in it. And that's the main limiting factor. When we get this rush of inspiration, we sometimes negate it by thinking that it's too lofty, too ambitious, and too ridiculous, that we could never achieve such an ambitious goal or such an ambitious dream. But what this chapter is reminding us is that there is nothing ridiculous about it at all. It is totally possible. When the universe gives you the gift of possibility, the gift of potential, the gift of opportunity, take it. Don't let that slide. Don't think that's ridiculous. I can't pick that up. That's too heavy. That's too much of a burden. Nonsense. Pick it up. The universe is being generous. Accept the gift. And it talks about not being dependent on other people or systems or companies. Find what Julia Cameron calls the river. Find that creative source within you, the inherent potential. Once we start to forget that inherent potential, we start to think that other people hold that potential for us. Maybe we have an agent or we work for a company and we think, if I leave that company, I will never get work again. If I leave that agent, I will be nothing. This is nonsense. When we can center ourselves and carry our own weight without expecting other people to give us things, we can just enjoy the people around us. She says, paradoxically, it is also the only real route to intimacy with others. When we're freed from our terrible fears of abandonment, we are able to live with more spontaneity. Freed from our constant demands for more and more reassurance, people around us are able to love us without a burden. Towards the end of the chapter, Julia Cameron starts to talk about the virtue trap. Essentially this idea that by trying to be nice to everyone all the time, we limit ourselves. Because we think that our dreams are selfish, we don't chase them. She wrote something in here that I'd never quite realized about myself, but that actually really stood out to me. And I went, oh, that actually really rings true. And that's that if you don't give yourself space and time to be creative, if you don't take a step back from your loved ones, take time away from your loved ones, take time to be by yourself and not to be constantly interacting with other people, you start to become hostile towards them. When they start to eat into time that is important to you, personal time, creative time, you will start to become angry and you will start to become bitter and you will start to become hostile towards them. It is essential as a creative that you do make sure that you have time to do those things away from other people. It is essential to your relationships with other people in order to not be hostile towards them, that you are a little bit selfish, that you do take that time apart. And what she means by a virtue trap is that we're constantly worried about being nice to everyone all the time. We think, oh, well, I have this responsibility to my family to be 100% and amazing and lovely to them all the time, and I should give them my all and be as generous as I possibly can, give them what they want at the expense of what I want. No, that is not healthy, and you will start to develop a hostility about you. Your desires are not selfishness, they are your desires. We don't think of other people's desires as being selfish, they are just their desires. But when we come to ourselves, sometimes, some of us, depending on our character, depending on our personality, we believe that we're being selfish by wanting to take that time apart, by wanting to do things for ourselves, by wanting to chase our dreams and not fulfill the desires of other people. We know that we love them, but we worry that they're going to think that we don't because we're taking some time to ourselves. Julia Cameron in this chapter is just reminding us that our desires matter and that we don't need to feel so ashamed of those desires. We don't need to feel so ashamed of taking time away. We don't need to feel so ashamed of putting up boundaries. There is a difference between being kind and being nice. Niceness is about how you are seen from the outside. Kindness is about how you truly love and care about people, regardless of how other people want you to express that. Too much focus on being a nice person as opposed to a kind person, someone who is kind to both themselves and other people, becomes self-destructive behavior. You will start to get in your own way. There is a balance to be found. Accept yourself as you are. Just as other people have their desires, you have your desires. I've actually known a few dancers, they'll start to say, am I doing the right thing for society? I could become a midwife and bring life into the world. I could become an environmental activist and save our future. I could become a teacher and enrich the experience of the next generation. And yes, you could, but you could also be a dancer. It's not selfish to pursue that dream. You don't need to do what you think society needs or wants. You need to follow your dreams. Wherever you're flowing, you are adding a richness to this world. Your art or your dance or your choreography, how you go about it is more important than what it is that you are doing. There is nothing selfish about pursuing art. I think that some of my self-inflicted restriction has been lifted in this week, and I've really enjoyed that. And thank you, Julia Cameron, for writing this chapter. I'll talk a little bit about my artist's date. I think one of my favorite artist dates so far, and it was really quite simple. I just went to a museum and enjoyed an interesting exhibition, and I was very moved and very touched by it. I had this sense of possibility when it came to the stillness. Everything in the exhibition could be moved, but it wasn't. It was all hanging by threads and it was dead still. And I think the fact that if you pushed it, it could move, it was not fixed in space, made me experience it with even more stillness. It held even more stillness inside it because it was not fixed, and because if I blew on it, it would move, but it didn't. It was just silent and still. But it didn't have to be. And I think that was the beauty of it. The possibility for it to be in motion accentuated its stillness. That said, being a dancer, I did want to jump into it and kind of move around with it, but obviously I would have been kicked out, which has happened in the past. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope that you're finding my content enriching, and if that is the case, please leave a comment, leave a like, and subscribe if you haven't already for more. Take care, and I'll see you next time.